Yes.
All right. So, well, thank you for joining. Today we're going to talk about dashboard tiles and how to use them. So we are a fireworks and special effects company, and we use NetSuite across our business. So I'm specifically referring to this, this tile right here on the upper right, which I called PittNUG Business Alerts. And you can see right now I have 3 tiles in there. You could put a lot. And when I say a lot, I think we've got close to 20 across our business. And I'll get to some tips later, but in general, the more you have, it takes a little bit longer for that tile to refresh when you load your page. So we generally try to put the tiles on there where the admins see all of them, and the users, different roles get the specifics. So the CFO gets tiles that he would be interested in, and our show producers get tiles that they would be interested in, and our admins get tiles they would be interested in. So you can really use it to deliver content to people. We found them to be a very useful way to look at KPIs, reminders. So obviously we all know about reminders, and you could fill your reminders bar with various things and click into them. And in the same sense, you can get that quick tile burst like this is saying we have 25 shows coming up in the next 7 days. And when you click and drill down, then you can see whatever Save Search supports it. So we could get to a list and see all those different shows, and then click in further into the sales orders themselves or whatever you have the search based on. This is very helpful for our finance department. It shows deposits that are past due that they know to click on this and go after our customers to get the deposits made and to do the collections. So it's very helpful reminders that when people walk into a meeting, they could flash that on the screen, or when they walk into the work today to say, what do I need to do for my job, and give them the associated tiles. This is one of our small subsidiaries, and it just shows their bookings for the year. Likewise, they could click and drill. So you can do 3 types of tiles. I'll get into that in a minute. You could also do comparison tiles. So we have some tiles that show year on year. So we could look at 2018 versus 2019 bookings, or we actually like doing it better, 2018 to 2019 bookings to date. So what were the bookings through this date last year versus the bookings through this date this year? And you can get a percentage or a ratio. You could also just have a static number up there, and I guess days since an incident could be one. So you could do 3 different types of tiles, but to deliver whatever you want to the business. So I'm going to pop back to my admin role and get into real quick how to actually go about this. The tiles is a bundle, and if you look right in the NetSuite help, you can actually find the bundle that this goes under. If you go to search and install bundles under customization, site bundler, search and install bundles, you'll be able to directly look for dashboard tiles if you know what to type, which I happen to know what to type. I type dashboard tiles, it'll go do a search. And obviously there are some, I'll say imposters out there, right? And a key when you're looking for bundles is you could come over to see number of installs. Obviously, since I installed it, we know it's not going to have 0 installs. So in general, it's a good idea to look at this and say, okay, that has 7,950 installs. That's the bundle I'm looking for. That bundle ID is also specified right in the NetSuite notes. So always a good idea to make sure you're installing the right one. Obviously there's 15 of them or something that come up here, and there's many of them that clearly are not what we're looking for. But this is the one that you actually install. As you know, once you go and install these tiles, then you can get to a list, and you could actually come in and look at what bundles you've installed. We've got many of them installed, and you can see the dashboard tiles is right here. And those of you that are familiar with bundles know that obviously you can then update it when an update version comes along. There'll be a little flag next to it like this to show when an update's available, and this shows your install date and everything else you need to know. So once you install the bundle itself and it's ready to go, then of course you get to our good friend user permissions. And as you know, user roles and permissions are a lot of fun to deal with. So there's a couple specific ones, and the reason why I say a couple specific ones, as you well know, once you start making tiles, you have to consider which saved searches you're using, and do the people have rights to those saved searches that you want to roll the tile out to, or will you allow your users to see whatever's in there, no matter what role they have, because you want everybody to see a high-level revenue tile. And all that's possible with NetSuite, but as you know, I had a friend who always said it was 3 miles wide and 8 miles deep when you got into NetSuite roles and permissions, and that's exactly the case. So you got to think through what tiles you want to deploy, who you want to deploy them to. But in general, if you look at the role I was just in, the CIO role, there's two that really matter. First, under custom record, there's the dashboard tile, and you want to give someone the edit access or the full access depending on what you want them to do. I'll give the warning that even giving edit access says they should be able to edit the tiles, and I couldn't even get that to work in a short-term manner on my CIO role. So the most allowance is for the administrator to be able to edit and create new tiles. In theory, you should allow other users to by setting this to edit. I've even found this to be a little not easy to make happen. So my general rule of thumb is our admins are the ones who make and deploy tiles. In general, users can either view them or edit them, but it's about the same level of, it seems to have the same effect right now from what I can tell. So custom record, dashboard tile is the first one. The second one that they have to have is under setup. They have the ability to look at custom record types. Those were the two things that I found, aside from everything else I alluded to, which is the people have to have rights to the saved searches. They have to have rights to everything you want them to ultimately see and drill into. And so you have to think through as you're deploying, what information am I putting on there? Do the people have access? But you have to have the custom record, dashboard tile access. You have to have the setup and the custom record types access. And then they should be good to go. So that said, now you're actually ready to make a tile for your user. And again, I'm in my admin role now, and I'm going to go to setup, and I'm going to go to dashboard tiles, and I'm going to go to manage dashboard tiles and new. So once you come in now, you're making the new tile, and what's listed on the tile itself is going to be what you put in the name. So let's say I want to call this tile PittNUG issues. And these are issues I want to look at in this for a particular reason. In this case, it's going to be, I want to look at where we have projects set up in NetSuite without a sales order attached. And that's actually the reason I picked that. That's a real tile that we have out there. I'm just going to make another one called PittNUG issues, but that's actually a real tile that we use in our business to watch out where we have data integrity issues with the way our project managers have set up the projects. And I'm actually have someone who watches 4 tiles all the time across our business to make sure that projects are set up with the right data integrity. And like I said, I found it very useful not only to report metrics, but to actually be a way to make sure the data is correct, to look for errors in our data in NetSuite across the business and have people look at this. So we found them quite useful. Under tile type, there's 3 tiles. And you can click right there and see they also go into it very well in the help menu. But there's the reminder tiles, static tiles, and scorecard tiles. And the way I like to look at it, the reminder tiles shows a numeric value from a saved search. So like when I was adding up revenue, that was a reminder tile. And I think 90% of the tiles that we made are reminder tiles. Static tiles is simply to display a static value. And so reminder tiles come from a saved search. Static tiles are just a static value. And then scorecard tiles that you can basically compare 2 saved searches, like last year's revenue to this year's revenue. And we do have, like I say, about 10% of our tiles are scorecard tiles. You could see the different behavior in the screen when you do that. If you choose a static tile, you can no longer put in a saved search. So under reminder tile, you can put in a saved search. When you go to static tile, it's basically looking for a number, like I want to show 6. So in this case, I'm going to do a reminder tile. And I'm going to choose the saved search. My saved search is going to be dashboard project. Let's see. Dashboard tile, sorry. Projects without sales orders. And I will show you up here. Dashboard Tile Projects Without Sales Orders is a safe search that runs, and it's going to produce around 26 values, 28 values today. Got a little worse than yesterday. And I'm going to copy the link, and there's a reason for that. When you're setting it up, when you click on the tile, you have to tell it where you want it to go. And you put that under the link. So this is a manual thing about this is you put in the safe search. You can link it actually to a completely different safe search, or you can link it to wherever you want to. I like that it gives you the flexibility. I wish there was a simple option to say just link to the safe search automatically as a default, but you do have to go in and copy the link out. Something maybe they improve on in the future as they develop the bundle. You can also put a prefix and a suffix before the number that shows. So as I said, the number is going to show 28 right now on the tile, and you could say 28, and I could put a prefix of something, or I could put a suffix of, say, errors to look at. Now, you do have to think about the fact that you've only got a little bit of real estate on each tile, so you don't want to put too many things. So let's just say I want to put 28 errors. The display order is something to consider when you start getting many tiles. What order do you want to put it in? I'm just going to put this at 57. I have 16 tiles or 17 tiles, but you can put it at whatever number you want. That just means I'm putting a number greater than my amount of tiles. I know it'll go last. But that's where you start saying, I want to show this tile first, this second, this third. You also put in what roles you want to display it to. So for example, I want to display it to the Pyrotechnico CIO role, so you'll be able to see it on the screen. And I'm going to then hit save, which will make my tile. And so my tile's made. It'll display to the CIO role. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bounce back to my CIO role to show you what we just made. Okay, so there's my CIO role, and there is my new tile called PittNUG Issues. As I said, it takes a second to load it, and I have 28 errors. Of course, I didn't do a good job. I should have put a space before the word errors if I wanted it to look pretty, but there's my 28 errors, PittNUG Issues. And if I click on it, I will bounce into my safe search. So the other thing to remember is these are dynamic, right? So every time you log in, or if you hit the refresh button, it'll always be updating for you live. So every time you log in, it'll show the greatest amount. It doesn't live update unless you hit the refresh button. So I always remind my users to hit the refresh button, and it'll always show you the latest and greatest numbers. So that's a new one we made. Of course, this has a picture, this has a color. So I will show you real quick, and I think I'm about closing out on time. So I'm gonna show you real quick then how to set the appearance, make it look a little different, a little more fun. And then I'll give you a couple of final tips here before we're done. So under, again, under setup, under dashboard tiles, now you can go to manage your tiles. This is the one I just made called PittNUG Issues. And you can see these are all my tiles that I have out there and all the different pictures I use for them and everything. So this is where you go to manage all your tiles at once. You can see the roles that you've deployed them to all in one screen. So I'm gonna hit the edit button. And I'm gonna do a little tab management here while we're talking. Under appearance now, I could change the colors. So if anybody ever is used to doing HTML, you come in and you pick the fun little color code that you want to do. What I realized was yesterday, I always used to do it that way. I realized they actually give you your own little screen now to do that, which makes it extra handy. So let's say I want to make the tile, oh, I don't know, a nice bright orange, some sort of an orange color. And I want to make my font color black. And my icon, I like to use the construction icon for this. So what I've done is I've preloaded all these icons. You load them to your file cabinet and then you just point at it. So I have a whole pile of them that I already use. One of my favorites is my construction one where there's errors. So now I made the tile orange. I made the text black. I put in my construction icon. I'm going to hit the save button. And now I'm going to go back one more time to my CIO role. And now my tile, with a little bit of luck, is orange. It's got the construction logo, and it'll load. And now I have my 28 errors. I never fixed my space. But in general, that is how you make a tile. And now every time the users can come in, the ones I've deployed this to, they could see the data errors to go look at. They click on that, and they could go in and drill deeper and manage all the data errors. So that's an example of how to make, again, the reminder tile, and using that so people can drill in and fix data errors in this case. So again, just in to review. I had one to show shows the next 7 days, one to show deposits that are past due, one to show revenue for one of our subsidiaries, one to show data errors on projects. And like I say, we made about 16 tiles and counting. People constantly come back and ask me for more. For our business, it's created a very visual way to look at various metrics and various data errors and various things for groups to focus on. Once we started using it, it took off, and people would much rather use tiles than reminders. Again, I showed you a few of the tips. You can, I guess the other thing I'll add in for final tips is you could hit the edit button here on the individual person, and this is person related, and you could set the font size, the label, and the blink delay of the tile. And I've never had a lot of luck noticing what the blink delay even does. It's supposed to make the tile flash, and part of me wonders if the browser we're using, it just is browser specific and doesn't work. But the font sizes you can affect. So if I wanted to make it smaller to fit more words on the screen, I would set it to 14. And when it reloads, it'll have a font size of 14, and you can see it got smaller. The problem is that's user specific. So each user has to do that themselves on their dashboard for their screen resolution. The other tips, as I said, the more tiles you get, and we are prime examples of this, the longer it takes to load. So when you have 20 tiles, it's going to take 2 or 3 minutes to load the tile page. This loads pretty quick when you hit the refresh because I've got 4 tiles. So probably 8 is the magic number. Maybe a few more. 4 is pretty quick. It seems to go up exponentially. It also depends probably on the complexity of the saved searches behind it, and we did a couple of decently complex ones too. So we also say that the admins should give themselves every tile. So when you go to my admin page, I've got all the tiles showing, and then you deploy them and only deploy the ones that each individual person needs, and that'll keep their screens loading nice. The admins kind of have to suck it up and have slow load times on their screens, but then they can see all the tiles they have out there. Yeah, I'd say that's probably my time limit. And as I said, you could also do scorecard tiles, which are a little more complex. And we have a few of those out there as well that we like, where we do year-on-year comparisons for the business, how many new customers we've gained, and again, revenue comparisons. But that'll be it for my show, and we can move on to questions, Rhonda.
Yeah, thanks, Bryan. That was really great. It looks good. Those tiles look great. So does anyone have any quick questions that we can ask? You want to ask Bryan now, or again, we'll post this on our website, and also if you have questions, you can post them in LinkedIn for Bryan, or send them to me, and I'll connect with him on that. Anybody? No, you did such a great job. Everybody's good.
Actually, I have a question. I just was on mute. Did you say that if there's no value in the tile, does the tile show 0 errors, or does it not show at all?
The tile will show 0.
Okay.
And in fact, that's all my, I told one of our analysts that I've got her looking at 4 different construction tiles of errors with projects or sales orders. I said, my dream is to see zeros across the screen. So I can surety I want to see zeros, and they absolutely show zeros. And then that makes me a happy data guy when that happens.
Anyone else? Okay. All right, that's it.